Welcome, everybody, to the Gate Expectations podcast, where I bring in a weekly guest, talk all things Yu-Gi-Oh!, and get to know a little more about each person I talk to. This is the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast that is run by a full-fledged journalist such as myself. This is episode 19. If you haven't checked it out yet, you can check out earlier podcasts with guests like Stephen Trifanowski, Jesse Cotton, Team Samurai X1, Doug Zeef, Farfa, and many more. My guest for this week is a multiple YCS topper. He's also topped several regionals with some of the wackiest decks you've ever seen. He's a featured writer for TCGPlayer Infinite and arguably one of the most creative deck builders in the game today. It is Hanko Chow. Hanko, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
No problem. Thank you, Bowie, for having me.
Absolutely, buddy. So, this is really what I've seen you do is lately you've had some nice success here on TCGPlayer. I think you wrote your first article around in June, I believe. How did all that come about for you?
Well, I keep seeing my friend Zachary Butler actually posting his own articles on just like every week. And I was thinking that I had so much time on my hands and that if I wanted to be a content creator, writing would probably be easier than video editing. Since video editing, I would have to buy like a camera and I have to there's just a lot more steps than writing an article, I think. Although I do understand that like when you put it out there, having a video is much more appealing to people because it's visual and audio rather than just all visual, and like people would probably have to use more effort to read an article, I guess. So I like there is a gap between there's a gap between the amount of value there is, I guess, because like you can get like 10,000 views on a really good video as long as it's trendy, or even it could even be like a 10-second video or like a less than a minute long. But these articles that I write, or me and these other people write, we've put a lot of effort and time in editing these what's like 3,000 word articles, and we only get like, well, I guess less than 10,000 views. Let's just say that.
These are extensively long articles. Like I remember once you asked me to kind of look over one article, and I know that you weren't asking me to look it over for like grammar and style. Asking me to just check over, like, does this make sense to you? And I couldn't help myself as the journalist that I am. I'm like, man, like there's like so much I wanted to kind of help you with and kind of like proofread and everything like that. But these are like long articles, and I've read through several of them before, and it takes a lot of work having to write a lot of these down, especially getting the mindset in of writing these articles, getting thoughts and being able to formulate it. And so how does it a challenge for you if that's the case? Because I'm pretty sure English isn't your first language either.
No, it's not. No. So how I approach these kind of things is, well, I usually do whenever my friends they would ask me anything about Yu-Gi-Oh related. I would ramble on for a long time about this one topic, but now that I can sit down and actually put my thoughts together, I try to create like a story, even though it's not a story, it's a strategy article, right? So you just gotta create like a introduction, like a passage in the flow and like how things relate to each other, and then wrap it all up in the end. And it is like it's pretty artistic, I guess, in a way that you can think about it, just how everything just kind of makes sense in the end of it. Although, to be honest, like a lot of the things I write, like I'm not really good when it comes to grammar. Like even speaking English is sometimes hard for me. But like that's why I can't really do this without my editor, Jason, actually, because he does like he makes everything looks much more smoother. Like everything I would write out, it would look a little bit jagged, but then once you like smooth everything out, everything just looks natural and it's like, wow, it's great. But it does. There's a process to this, and getting the flow right is the most important part.
It really is, because because I myself as a journalist, I also have I've gone through several editors before, and I would always compare like the work that I submit and then kind of compare to whatever my editor like edited through and kind of worked it out a little bit. And you know, you can kind of see like the refining process that gets into it that kind of makes yourself, you know, sound a little bit better when you go onto it.
I learn a lot from like every single article I write. I learn like more words to use, or just a different way to say something, or how to go more in depth about a topic. And like just like there's a lot of patterns too in the way I use my words, but like I'm trying to also go away from the pattern and like try new things. Yeah, it's a little bit hard. Like recently I've been trying to like write all these topics that I don't really talk too much about, but once I get in depth, I guess I can put out something, and it works. Like apparently people do like the things I write about, and that's good. Yeah.
And when you write these things, you know, you do learn more and more as you go along. I mean, that's part of the process. I mean, that's been the same way myself ever since like I got into journalism. I started writing a whole bunch. You start to get better, and you start to, you know, get the flow of things. Like before, it used to take me roughly 2 hours to write like a 5-hour article, and that includes me doing like interviews, proofreading, submitting photos and whatnot. But now I can get it down to like about an hour and a half, and lately it's been taking me about an hour and 15. So like eventually you start to find your groove, and it just comes naturally to you.
Yeah, I like legit. I actually, the amount of time that it takes for me to write these articles, just one night, I would just feel really hype about it and just do like a night worth of research, and then just spit it all out in one night, and then revise it all in the same time, and then like submit it, and I hope it goes through.
Yeah, and I mean, when you go through Jason Gradmer-Meyer, like the man's a godsend anyway for this kind of business, because I used to write for him too back when it was metagape.com, and and this was before I studied journalism. So, you know, looking back at the way I wrote then and how I write, I'm like, my God, like I needed a lot of help back then. Jason made me look good. But now that if I were to get myself to like Yu-Gi-Oh strategy writing, like, you know, it's going to be a lot more refined than what it is now.
But playing.
yeah, because like because I'm pretty sure that you don't have any actual like formal education when it comes to writing, or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, you're not wrong actually. I never went to school specifically for writing. We did take, you know, high school English, and I learned like I took what I learned from those and just put it out. And I mean, I do a little bit of reading too, like back then. But I mean, nowadays I only read like manga and stuff, so I don't read too much. Yeah. Although actually, I do occasionally do read the newspaper, but I try to read like the non-opinion ones, so that way I can get some factual writing done.
Yeah, so nothing that's no like formal education and like in post-secondary and anything.
No. Just whatever I can feel like it sounds smooth. Like just whatever I take from watching TV shows or just listening to music or reading the newspaper. Yeah, I just try to take all that information and write.
So how did you? Yep. So how did you end up getting that gig?
Getting the gig. Well, like I said, I saw my friend Zachary Butler. He was writing a lot of stuff, and I had a lot of time. So I was like, hey, how much do you get paid? And like, how do I get into this? And he's like, talk to Jason. I'm like, oh, I know Jason. Yeah, I'll talk to him. And he says that I was actually like going to be asked to do this eventually. But I mean, it's good that I asked beforehand. So then I just like, I have a couple ideas I wanted to write about, like these dinosaur lists I've been having fun with back then. And he's like, yeah, these are great ideas. And then I just went with it. Although, like, if you can just tell from the first 3 articles I wrote, they're very, like, long. And I try to, like, now that I realize they were maybe too long, but actually they were, like, one of my most popular articles, actually, my first 2 or 3 of them, the dinosaur ones. So nowadays I try to make them not, like, 4,000 words long. I'm trying to make them a little bit less so I can get all the information in a much smaller piece, so that way people don't have to like get bored halfway through. Like I don't know if there's technology to like see page view duration, but like I mean I really hope that people can like stick with it when they read it.
Yeah, I'm seeing like your first few articles, as you said, like we're looking at like double-digit minute reads here, and then eventually, as like we go more and more into it now, they're starting to get shorter and shorter, like down like the lower ends of the double digits, and like many of them now in like single-digit minutes. So it's definitely good to kind of keep it a little bit sweeter, because not a lot of people can like retain that much information, being able to like wanting to read that long. Some people just really want to get to the heart of it.
Yeah.
That's also a big thing when it comes to like journalism, like regular journalism like myself, is that you got to keep it kind of short and sweet. People want it right to the point. Like you can't just like build up and build it up. It's like just tell it right it
Yeah,
is,
like
right
Yu-Gi-Oh
off the
players
bat.
just want me to tell them the deck list and like a combo. Here you go. Like serve it on a silver platter for them. I actually been writing those other topics where it's like a how to play, or not how to play, like an introduction to the archetype kind of thing, like my Dragon Maid one and the Flower Guardian one. So those ones I actually really did enjoy writing them, because I explain like every card, or almost every card, and my view on them, and those ones are long, but they have to be long because I'm going through every single card, right? Yeah, and those are always like pretty fun to write about.
And how's your experience of writing with the TCGPlayer Infinite been so far for you since you started in the summertime?
It's definitely been fun. Like, it's enjoying. But like, there is a like quota that I gotta reach. But like, I don't think too much about that, because like I treat this like as a hobby. Because I do work full time, like as in retail and whatnot. But like this, the money that I make from writing articles goes into my like hobby and trading cards. I just use them to buy more cards and stuff. So it's not really. I mean, I do want to like keep it consistent, because like it could potentially be a career that I can get into, but like, oh yeah, but like it's not stressful. It's just I think about something. I look, because content creating is about like, it's a race. Once you see something that's trending and people want to talk about it, you just gotta get on it. You have to immediately like get on the keyboard and just like do something about it. So if people want to, if you want people to know your opinion, you just got, it's a race. You just got to go for it. So that's that hype, that drive, like that actually excites me a little bit and like keeps me going. Like recently, my next article that I'm actually I just already submitted is going to be about the Speed Duel Battle Box set, the Battle City set. And I played Speed Duels before, so I saw all the cards being spoiled, and I was like, this is amazing. I gotta write about it before anybody else does. So that kind of hype is what drives me to write these articles.
So how do you come about like getting story ideas for your articles? Like, are they from like your editor, or is it something that like you make story pitches to your editor, or how does that work for you?
A couple times when the season's drier, then yes, my editor does like suggest me some topics, and then I would go with it. But most of them are actually just what I think is popular, and then I pitch it to my editor, and then he says, "Oh yeah, this is great," and then go for it. Like most of my ideas are pretty good, except for the generator ones. Like, I'm gonna be honest, apparently people don't like generators, and even though that like the that deck is a little bit boring, but like it's just got solid cards. But other than that, like yeah, like the topics are just in the heat of the moment kind of thing, you know, just like let's see, you know what? Recently, the top 10 overlooked cards, like it was an idea pitched by my editor, but like I actually do appreciate that kind of topic, because like whenever a new set comes out, people do want to know like, oh Hanko, what do you think about like these like commons and whatnot? I'm like, yeah, these are good cards, but just people don't know about them. So I'm like, okay, I'll write a piece about these cards that nobody really talks about, sure. And it's actually pretty successful, yeah.
Yeah, because what you're kind of doing is similar to what like actual journalism like does, is that, you know, it's usually up to the reporter to kind of pitch a lot of story ideas to the editor, and it's like up to the editor like to see if they want to like reject or deny it. Because I've had several articles that have like been denied, or like have like put it in question, they're like maybes kind of thing. But I've definitely had a lot of like pitches that have been like, yep, give the thumbs up, go ahead and do it kind of thing. But you know, there are some like slower weeks where like not a lot of news happens. Like for example, like I write for an indigenous paper of like 8,000 people on the residents, and you can only get so much news out of 8,000 people, especially for sports, and especially with COVID happening. It gets to be a tough challenge, you know. So you know, there are times where my editors had to go down and say, okay, I'll write this for you. But yeah, most of the time it's usually you come up with ideas, pitch it, and let's see if it works. So I'm glad that you get some like free range on being able to decide like what kind of articles can go up there for yourself.
Yes, it's actually, even though most of my ideas actually do go through, is some of the ideas are actually just stopped by like myself. I would like pitch it, and halfway through like thinking about it or writing it, I'll be like, no, this is not an idea. Like I just scrap it, because I don't think people would. I don't think it would be in a, let's see, not people would appreciate it. It's just I don't think it would actually be a good idea. Like recently, I was going to write about invoked prank kids, but then as I was writing it, I realized, wait, the only reason why I play invoked prank kids is by taking out all the the good cards and then putting in invoke cards, and I'm like, this doesn't sound right. I don't think this will be good. Or like, well, one time I wrote about my 60 card Eldritch with Play Vendor and like Magician Souls and all these other cards, but then the ban list happened, and I'm like, oh well, I guess I'll scrap that. And I tried to rebuild it with like the Phantom Knight cards because Rusty got unbanned, and it was kind of successful. It's just Jet Synchron was like a really key component of the deck because it was the only way to like pitch Golden Lord in your hand and whatnot. Like Plague Spreader was okay, but it didn't really replace the entire role of Jet Synchron. So yeah, there's some ideas that just get stopped naturally or just by myself. It just happens, I guess, and we just move on. We just make another idea because I think there's always an idea for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, that's typically just what happens in journalism, especially in sports, where like you're kind of like going with an idea and running with it, and then all of a sudden like something changes on the drop of a dime, and you either have to like scrap or rewrite something completely. Like for example, like if like a team's like blowing out another team, and then all of a sudden there's like, you know, I'm writing along, it's okay, this is what's happening, and then all of a sudden like a giant comeback happens. Like the whole entire narrative of the story I was writing was completely killed, and I gotta like rewrite it like in like fast, like hard. So it, you know, things can happen like that. Yu-Gi-Oh, maybe in like to like a smaller scale with a little more time frame, but you know, those things can happen. It's normal for journalism to have that kind of thing happen.
I think around that time when I was playing the 60 card Eldritch deck, I was also writing about the Dragon Maid one. So that was like, okay, the Dragon Maid one's the safe one, so I'll just write with it. And then that, I mean, yeah, you got to find the safe articles to write about. That's probably another reason why I wrote the Virtual World one recently, because I felt like it was a safe topic to go with, because it's not going to be, it's hyped, but also it'll have more future value in the months afterwards. Because like I can't just write about dinosaurs all the time. People stop reading it eventually. Even though it's actually very popular, it's just I know it's not going to hold too much value in like 6 months, I think. So
there's a little bit of demand and variety as well when you write about articles. Again, you can't just write about the same thing over and over again, unless it's incredibly vital for some reason, which probably is going to be rare in Yu-Gi-Oh in this sense. But you know, in other journalism, you would see it as well. Like, you know, you're probably reading about like COVID-19 reports like every single day, or just pops up on your feed every single day, because that's vital to us. But you know, as far as a Yu-Gi-Oh standpoint is, you probably won't see that as much.
No, definitely not.
But I know that you've had like a tremendous amount of success lately with dinos. Like for example, you won the New York Comic Con the Friday with dinos.
Oh yes, that was a good format. That was before Phantom Rage, and yeah, my card choices that event was a little bit questionable. I should have probably played Nibiru at that event, or even just Mystic Mine, actually. The week after that event, I main decked 3 Mystic Mine because of the recent results from that other online tournament. So, and it actually was like way better because Mystic Mine just gave the deck another win condition. And it just like, there was even 1 week where I won a locals playing Utopia Double in the dinosaur deck, but I never resolved Utopia Double. It's a possibility, but it's only possible because Mystic Mine is just so strong.
And then that card has just been like the bane of existence for like so many decks right now, because like the deck I just kind of have on hand right now is just Chaos Thunder Dragons, and if a single Mystic Mine gets played, I'm screwed. I have no way to remove it. And you know, even though that sounds like kind of like bad deck building in a sense, but I'm sure a lot of players
bad card design. To be honest, it's just so easy to play with it, but also it's so hard to play against it, because it's not like every deck has a built-in searchable spell trap removal by a spell trap. Like, I'm just glad that these so actually, even though I played Mystic Mine the weeks after that, once Phantom Rage came out, I actually stopped playing Mystic Mine because I realized that people were playing Zodiacs and the new Virtual World deck, as well as Prank Kids. So those 3 decks I didn't think that were making Mystic Mine viable. So instead I played Kaijus, and I do want to talk, like I want to write about it, but at the same time I can't really write about dinosaurs again, because like, I mean, like writing another update on dinosaurs might not be keeping up with the trends, I think. But people are talking a lot.
It is like a top tier deck, or at least one of them. But it's been a deck that's been like three years, I believe. So it kind of feels a little bit stale at this point. It just has like a new trick here and there, but
oh yeah, I'm sure
as far as yeah, but as far as that goes, like it's almost like everybody knows what like majority of Dino cards do at this point in time. So
but for some players, same players don't know how to play against miscellaneous source, and it's crazy. It's not that they can't. I think it's because their engine can't interact with my engine once I have miscellaneous on, which is a problem with the game. But it doesn't mean, it also makes it so that as long as their utility cards can interact with my dinosaur cards, then like they actually have a huge chance of winning. Like miscellaneous, like I talk about it, the weakness all the time, but I don't know. It's not advertised enough to other people to make them realize it's not that broken. And that's why dinosaurs didn't top the last event. That just happened. It just, I mean, it did top, one of them top, but his build was not the same as mine. It's pretty old. I think it's up and it's outdated.
Yeah, that was the luxury championship series you're talking about, right?
Yes, the one that just happened. Yeah,
the one where I believe like Virtual World went 12-0, if I recall correctly.
Oh yeah, and like Virtual World took up like most of the spots, and Dinosaurs only took one of the spots, and his build was the Mystic Mine build, which, like I said, I think it's outdated. So oh well. Oh wait, he only played one Mystic Mine. He played like 12 hand traps. That's what happened. Yeah, he played 12 hand traps. His side deck was also. He has Skullmeisters in there. I think he was more. He was predicting probably more Prankit players, but like I wouldn't play Skullmeister. I would just play Dweller or like just Nibiru, Gamma, and Perm were the safer ones. You just like I don't know. Anyways, I don't really want to talk about the dinosaur deck again.
Yeah, that's fair because like it's been around for a while. You kind of playing with it. Is that the deck you're carrying right now, like in real life?
Oh yeah. That's the deck I just have on my table every time I play remote duels. I do have Prankids, but like I just don't think Prankids can consistently beat Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, so that's why I don't play it too much. And not only that, but it's just another Mystic Mine deck, so like people don't like it.
Yeah, and that's understandable. But I've known you at least to be like a really innovative deck builder. Like I know that you've had some like really wacky tops, like just at regionals and even in YCSs. Like for example, like you've topped regionals, like you went undefeated with Ignite Zexals for once, and then I think the first time we ever really like heard of Hanko Chow kind of break out is when you topped regionals with Evil Soras, which was unheard of at the time, man. Like so.
Evils did have one top at the time. I just was another one, but like, and I actually topped for that event. It's just the tiebreakers made me get first place that event. There was another guy playing Light Sworns that actually went undefeated till the last round, and because he lost the last round, he actually got like fourth place or third place or something because of the tiebreakers, and I won my last round. I lost to that guy in the second last round, which I guess that's how they flip the tiebreakers. If the guy that you lost to in the second last round loses the last round, but you won, then you somehow get above him. I don't know. Yeah.
So what's the inspiration behind building these creative and really rogue decks that succeed so well in the metagame?
Well, I do want to try to build a better deck all the time because, I don't know, just I'm inspired by the show and all these players beforehand. Let me think. Just there's always a better backstory whenever a person tops with a different deck. It's just if I topped with the same deck everyone else played, Yu-Gi-Oh or actually I just couldn't afford those decks back then, to be honest. But now that I could afford them, I actually do play them. And even then, it's just you don't have an advantage when you're playing the mirror match unless you know the mirror match and you know how to use the resources better. But you can't reliably do that when everyone else is so practiced in this game now. Now that online resources are so available to everyone, everyone playtests hours on Dueling Book or whatever, right? So you have to find those card choices that are consistent enough to beat them. And if you can't find the card choices in a mirror match, then you just gotta build a better deck. That's how it is. You can't play the same deck with a better card. You just have to build a better deck. So back then, when I played Ignites, I actually was in between Ignites and Side Frames because that was all I had, I think, back then. I didn't want to play Blue Eyes. I didn't want to play Magispector Metal Foes. I was like, oh, I did play Magispector Metal Foes a little bit, and I was playing like Absolute Odd Eyes Absolute Dragon or Tyrant Throws, and those cards were really cool. But like, what's it called? No. I just think that the Ignite deck was very consistent, but it was definitely linear. Like if anyone played Ghost Ogre back then, which they kind of should have, I would probably have a higher chance of losing. But they didn't. And not only that, but like I actually accidentally was playing that deck. I think I believe that event at the Toronto Regionals, I was lending out my Toad Hero cards to my friend Austin. And then because of that, I was like, I'll just play this Ignite deck that I have. I mean, it did well in Montreal. We'll try it this time. And then it surprisingly did like really well. So he also kind of did well. I don't remember what happened to him with the deck, but I mean, I remember telling myself that I would buy myself a pack every time Denko Seka won me a game. So, so I was like, oh, I bought a lot of packs that day.
I know all about Denko Seka. That was kind of the MVP for me when I had my YCS top. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I wish I could actually build another deck with Denko in it, like besides Thunder Dragons, where I don't know, it's only good in a deck with a powerful spell card, right? That's super reliable, but no, not in this day and age. No.
Yeah, definitely not. It's so heavily monster based nowadays. It's hard to really make Denko Seka work right now, and at least in my mind in this format, anyhow. Yeah. So and then you've had some like good success and YCSs as well. You've topped I think 3 times now. So there's definitely a lot of like skill behind you. And like and on a personal level, we played each other before. We've seen each other play before. Like what gives you the courage to be able to run these kind of decks and kind of get this creative on on these kind of levels of a Yu-Gi-Oh?
Well, I don't think I'm that creative anymore, to be honest, because like I'm an adult now and I don't really have as much time as I did before. But like back then I did spend hours every night like playing the game online and I get so practiced into it. But yeah, like recently for the last couple of years, I think I've been practicing less in the game. So like my decks that I build are more standard because I feel safe with them. Let's see what's like for example, that time I played True Dracos at the YCS, even though it was Goki format still, that was silly, but like I felt like I was safe with that deck because I thought that everybody else was onto Sky Strikers, and that's why I chose to play that deck. But little did I know there was Dark World FTK, which I mean I knew it existed because of Tomahawk beforehand, but I didn't know that they figured out a way to make it more consistent because of all those new danger cards. So dang, I wish I played hand traps that day. I was just thinking that I didn't need to. And like even though like I do think I'm a pretty good player sometimes, I know that I also struggle with like tunnel visioning a lot, or just like not thinking in the most important situation, because like I don't know, those kind of moments cost me a lot of games. And one time, and that same event with the True Draco deck, I lost because I didn't realize the interaction between like Fairy Tale Snow and Trisbania and my skill drain. That costed me the last game of day 2, and Joshua Oyster was the one that topped the YCS instead of me. So I was like, gosh darn. So I was like kind of sad. But I mean, I didn't mind that at all, because I guess I just went on and like played speed duels instead, and just like got second place to that giant card. And also at that same moment, that same kind of thing, like I only got second place at that speed duel giant card event because I actually made the right play. But in hindsight, now that I know all the cards that you had, I should have played it differently. So I guess it's not really a tunnel vision, I guess, in that point. But if I made the read better, then it would have definitely changed. The scenario was, I don't know if you played speed duels before, but have you, Bowie, actually? Or
Myself, no, not. I think I played like one local tournament with Speed Duels, but I just borrowed a friend's deck, and that was about it as far as Speed Duel goes. I barely
Okay,
touched
okay.
the game.
So at the YCS Niagara Speed Duel Giant Card event, I was playing the best deck at the time, which was the Serpent Knight Dragon deck, because of the skill Nightmare Sonic Blast was just like bonkers. It was like every turn, as long as you have the Serpent Knight Dragon on the field, you would get a card and pop a card, as long as you reveal like 3 monsters on the top of your deck out of 4 cards. So the summon Serpent Knight Dragon, all you had to do was play the Tribute Doll spell or like Tribute Summon it with double Costin, and it was just like really stupidly good. Like, especially because everybody else was on tribal synergy with Harpy Lady cards and Amazonas cards, because they really do swing advantage when you get the free draws. But like, anyways, in the very last match, I played against the guy with Vanilla Zombie Beatdown. And the point of his deck was that every turn his zombies would get 100 attack bigger, and the stack would get bigger and bigger every turn. So he could even be like, he could have a 1500 attack vanilla zombie that goes to like 2000 something, like by like turn 5. So, anyways,
but before that, that's the skill. That's the bone skill card where you can make all your zombie attack gain 100 attack and lose like 100 defense.
Yes, and they take double battle damage. Yes, that exactly.
Okay. All right.
So his only answer I would remember every other deck and think of what answers they have to my Serpent Knight Dragon, because I would have to keep my resource of Champion's Vigilance, the Solemn Judgment card, to use it specifically for that answer card. And what I remember was that Order the Charge was like the only answer in the game for his deck to pop my Serpent Knight Dragon. So in the very last turn, my opponent chose to set a monster, then play Book of Life, and for some reason I thought, okay, he's just trying to chop block. He's just trying to get bodies to not lose next turn. Weird, but okay. I let it resolve. And then on my turn, he sets 2 after that with 2 back row, and then on my turn he goes Dust Tornado your Champion's Vigilance, and then Order the Charge my Serpent Knight, and then I lost from that. So the hindsight was that, I guess I should have negated the Book of Life with Champion's Vigilance, so that way I would have. And I can't believe I still remember it. I gotta try and forget about that, because that costed me a game and a giant card.
Yeah, I mean, we've all had bad beats before, and I remember that. I think the last Niagara YCS, like I took a gamble on the entire YCS, and I just basically took your entire deck idea, because I know you were running it. And I'm going to attribute a little bit to my experience, because that was the first time I ever played Orcust ever, and then like I was playing it like different from how you typically would play an Orcust deck, because I played Orcust afterwards, and I got used to it after a while. But when I was playing that deck that you gave me, it was first of all, let's add a little context for those who don't understand what's going on here. So this is when Nightmare Mermaid was out, like was still here.
Yeah.
Like strikers were big then. BA was also big around that time too. And this is the format where like everyone was running like only one Orcus Crescendo, but we opted to play. You opted to play 3, and you added like so many different dangers. Like you included like Bigfoots and Thunderbirds in there. I think we put like a Chupacabra in there as well.
Because I just wanted like high value special summons, and I believe like the biggest card was like Pot of Desires and just Gizmex. What else was there? I felt like the danger cards were just really high value every time you resolved them, because there wasn't that many answers to it. Yeah. Even There Can Be Only One was really popular at the time. It's just you can just Bigfoot pop it and it just answers everything.
Yeah, because we were playing like triple Bigfoot, triple Thunderbird, triple Desires, triple Gizback. It was just like a mishmash of a lot of cards, but we would rip through them like crazy, because we'd try to abuse Gizmek and Desires like crazy in that deck.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the hindsight that we can see now, or if we could go back, was that, like, why didn't we just play Engage?
Really, because that was the part of the format
to play Sky Striker Orcust, but I was like, Danger Orcust, this is better. But no, what a silly deck.
Yeah, because I had tremendous amount of success playing Orcust when when it was Sky Striker Orcust at that time. Like I was like one win away from topping a regional at that point, but unfortunately I drew dead twice, and that's what killed me. Like I wanted to,
in the mirror match too against Steven.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. Well, that was he was one of my losses, but he wasn't my last loss, though. But like that, but yeah, I didn't draw like the greatest against Steven, but I drew like enough to at least like kind of give him a fight. But it looks like I was in a losing effort the entire way, but it wasn't that the game was 100% out of my hands. Like maybe I could have done something. I don't know. It's a little long to remember. I just remember
the mirror match
is
like pretty 50-50 depending on how you build it. But I think Steven and Dom were on a different build where they actually were super heavy on hand traps back then. And while I at that event I was actually playing the Into the Void build because I felt it was more consistent, but hindsight the hand trap version was better because you have to stop the mirror match from playing so that way you can play the game.
Yeah, because that kind of goes to when we played together. I came up to your hometown and we played together. And I remember just going through you when I was doing my combo. Like I know Hanko doesn't have a single hand trap, so all this is clean for me to go through. But it's like, what's gonna happen afterwards? Because like I know you can break boards really well.
Yeah,
and that's what you did when we played. That's what
more consistent at getting the Sky Striker cards. Yes.
Yeah, because that's what your deck was built for, and it absolutely got me when we played each other in Swiss. Like that's what happened. I completely broke my boards when I built. The only reason why I won against you when we played in finals, in semifinals, was because you just drew dead both times. I just knew when to stop.
I did draw dead, but it was also because before the event I made a slight change in my deck, and I just chose not to play Brass Bombard. But if I played Brass Bombard, I would have one more play in that hand. But it's whatever, because my Heart Core could not get out of Brass Bombard to play more cards in my hand. That was a mistake.
Well, in hindsight, though, you kind of don't want to play Brass Bombard because considering that you're playing Into the Void, so half the time your hand's going to be discarded. You're not going to have anything in your hand to be able to play.
Because we were like minimizing the normal summons in my deck too. I was like, I have to cut Brass because it's just another bad normal summon.
Yeah. And I think I did play one Brass Bombard though in my deck when I played the first time when I played Orcust. I played just one for the heck of it, but I found myself like cutting it a bunch. And I remember the build that we played. We played at least one. I couldn't remember if we played two Brass Bombard in that YCS.
What YCS?
The YCS Niagara, the one I piloted.
Yeah, true. I don't remember if there was a Brass Bombard in that.
But the great thing about that card is that we could make Brawl Sword Savage Dragon out of that, which was like a big like game changer for that one.
Yeah. If you get out Nightmare and Brass Bombard, yes, I remember that.
Yeah. And I think I won all but one games every time I brought it out there. And I felt disappointed though, because I remember you came over and you watched me and you thought, okay, Blue's got this in the bag, and all of a sudden I turn around and you see me like lose.
I remember I saw you had Bigfoot in your hand and you had like a way to make Unicorn to like pressure something and use Bigfoot to hop that there can be only one, but you didn't choose that line of play because I think you lost the Unicorn somewhere else or something. I don't know.
I honestly forget. I just all I know is that like I lost out to I negated something, and there can only be one kind of disrupted me, and then I was screwed at that point in time because I didn't really give myself like the right out. I don't know. I didn't play that well. I definitely could have played that YCS a lot better than what I did. I'm part of it. I'll blame half of it was on inexperience. The other half was like just making not mental errors, but just human errors. The best way to put it. And that's what it is. I'm not going to call myself the perfect player, but I'll call myself a good player, not the perfect player. A good player.
Yeah, that's because as long as you practice, right, you get to be a good player. People nowadays, they just rely on buying the best deck and barely practicing and barely reading their cards, and they just expect to be good at the game. It sometimes baffles me, but I mean, I don't know. That's why I guess that's why we write articles, and that's why we create content for these people, because it's true. They should know, so that way they can give a better gameplay experience to other people. Because there's a lot of times when people ask for coaching mid game, and that's a little bit annoying to me. But it happens, I guess.
Well, what's annoying about the coaching part?
It's because when you're playing a game with another person in a tournament setting, I'm trying to win, my opponent's trying to win, but like if they're asking me how they should win, then I would start coaching them. Then that means I'm actually helping them win rather than helping myself win. You know what I mean? It just gives a unpleasant feeling to me because like the whole point of it is that I'm trying to win, right? Yeah.
Do you kind of feel that, you know, if they're asking you, how do I win? Do you feel like it's if they do win, it's not really something that they kind of deserve, considering like they don't know what it is?
Yeah, they don't. It's well, yeah. They should just like realize their mistake, and actually mistakes help players get better. Like I would actually. I remember a lot of my misplays, and because I remember my misplays, that would help me become a better player. Yeah, I remember just the other day, like I actually lost another locals because in the final round I didn't read my opponent's golden castle on the field. But that's because it was a remote duel locals, and in remote duels you sometimes get tunnel vision by just not because you're seeing your hand, you're seeing your field, and you're looking at the monitor. And in real life you would look at the field in the hand, right? So like there's 3 different views I had to look at, and in that time frame I was focusing on my combo with dinosaurs, and I forgot there was a golden castle on the field, and because of that I was like attack, and he's like golden castle effect, and I'm like, oh right, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And then you know what, now that I always remember that, even though like I've seen that happen to so many other people, and I tell myself, oh, it's never gonna happen to me, and then it kind of did happen because it's remote duel and you don't see everything.
Yeah.
But now that it happened to me, I made these mistakes. I'll probably never do it again.
Well, I mean, you've had success before in the remote duels, because the New York Comic-Con event, that was a remote duel, I believe.
Yes, it was. And in that setting, actually, there was like constantly a judge watching your table. So like I really felt super safe in that kind of setting, because like I know that even if I don't catch something, I hope my judge will catch something just to make sure the gameplay is what's that word called, where it's played where it's supposed to be, I guess. It plays on like it's supposed to. I don't know. Like the judge's role in those kind of monitoring games is to make sure that the game play is the same as it would be if they were playing in a simulation, I guess. Yeah. So everything should be normal. Yeah.
It's kind of like moderated in a sense, so that way, you know, there's no disruption. Not disruption, but there's no like errors in gameplay, like where you have to kind of like take back a move. It's like one of those situations where if someone makes like an illegal move or whatnot, and no player catches it until like a couple turns later, judge is like, well, you have to kind of play on, because that's the accepted game state. Where you know, if you have a judge monitoring it, that stuff typically isn't going to happen.
Yeah, like, and they actually get paid pretty well too. Actually, at those events, they get all these mats and everything for judging the New York Comic-Con, and the exclusive tower deck box. That, you know what, because of COVID-19, like it's pretty hard to get that 2020 tower purple deck box now. Even on eBay, it's like hundreds of dollars, I think. Damn. Yeah, we actually did judge a regional together, but it was a great time.
That is true, and it's funny how that one came about, because so this was in a city called London, Ontario. For those who's not familiar with Canadian geography, by the way, we have our own London, and I was slated to head judge that event. I know you were judging with me at that point. We were supposed to have another judge. I forget who that was, but they bowed out. Like they never showed up. They no-showed. They ghosted.
It was some person that I don't even know. Like the name was not recognizable to me. It could have been just a troll, to be honest. But I guess they were on the roster, so I guess technically it was a real person. Yeah,
but I remember that was the case because the regionals was threatened to be canceled because there are like so few judges. It was just you and me, and supposed to be one other person, and it was supposed to be around.
Jason, not Jason. What's his name? The TO.
Well, it was Brimstone Gainsby as the TO for one thing.
Yeah. Our TO and me and you were the only judges available, and it was super hectic because like it was only 3 of us and 200 players, and oh my goodness.
Yeah, 200 plus players. It was really hectic during that time, and I felt for you and me, because we had to be all over the place. We had to do all the deck lists and everything ourselves for 200 people, and like they wanted at least 3 judges for that event, because 2 people doing like a 200 plus like event it can be really stressful. It's tough getting around to all those judge calls, and I think they would have almost canceled it, but I feel like that third person who was supposed to judge with us just only said it just to prevent it from being canceled. I have a weird feeling that's what it is. I don't have any evidence for that whatsoever. That's just my hunch.
True. I mean, they didn't get paid to do it, I guess, because they were just putting a name out. Yeah. But I'm just glad it happened, actually, because one of the other motivations for me to judge that regional was because I think I won the regional beforehand, and I was just tired of the game. Yeah. And Robert Scott also passed away recently, and I was I wished I judged one more time. So I was I got to judge an event just so that way I can get this off my mind. And that was a good event, yeah, because I did judge with Robert Scott once, and he taught me a lot of things.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. Yeah, he's a good guy, and rest in peace him. He was, for anyone who doesn't know, there's a man by the name of Robert Scott, also known as BFG. I'm not going to get into what the acronym means, but big effing guy. I'm going to put that, because he's huge. He's huge. I think he's around he's
towers over everyone.
Yeah, so 6.5 feet, 350 pounds or something like that. I don't know. Looks like he might have had giganticism or something. But
you would not want to mess with him.
Yeah, you don't. But he's a big cuddly teddy bear. Yeah. But he died. He died a couple of years ago. I think it was in his sleep. I forget what it was offhand. I forget what he was diagnosed with, but I think his heart stopped or something in the middle of the night. Yeah. It was cystic something that's getting me.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a great guy myself, and we judged a lot together too. And one story with him, real quick, was we went out for the judges' dinner for I think it was a Shonen Jump Championship, actually, not a YCS. We went out to a Korean barbecue place, and the both of us had kind of an eating contest to see who could eat more. If it was him or me, and I think I eked him out by one extra tiny plate.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. Oh. I surprisingly out-ate him. And all the other judges were just full. They were tired. It's all right, we're ready to go. And here BFG and I are just eating monsters, running up the table all over the place, eating plate after plate after plate. And that was a fun little battle that we had just for fun, just eating Korean barbecue. Rest in peace, that man. That was a big hit to the community. And I remember the YCS before he had passed away. I think we took about a minute of silence for him too, if I recall.
Yes. That was a Zodiac YCS. It was not a good format to play in because.
Yeah, really. But speaking of that YCS, do you remember what happened the week before that YCS?
The week before.
Yeah, the actual week before that. If you can remember what happened.
Oh my goodness! It was Zodiac True Draco Regionals, or Zodiac True Draco YCS, and then Nationals was pretty close to that. Did we play in a box tournament or something? Or
no? So I've mentioned this several times on the podcast before, with other people, but it was Botang's wedding.
Oh yes, right, Botang's wedding.
Yeah.
Yes,
so So for those who don't know, Botang obviously was a world's competitor, great person, fantastic duelist. Had his wedding a week before the YCS. Thank God he didn't do it on the day of YCS. We had our own table full of just Yu-Gi-Oh players. The owners of Dolly's were there. Team Samurai X1 was there. You and I were there. At that same table, and a couple of other Toronto players were there. That was a fantastic night, by the way. And I remember that you met my girlfriend for the first time, Autumn. Mm-hmm. We just got into a relationship the month of, and I remember I barely knew the Zodiac matchup then. I'm and I was asking everybody at the table, what do I do? What's going on? Help. I feel so bad, so unprepared, going into that event. But I remember that you got invited to that event as well, and we had a really fun time at that wedding.
Yeah, that was a pretty good. Day. It was a whole day actually. Yeah, we got there in an Uber and we just spent the whole day there. What was the food that we ate? Oh, gosh, Trying to
Oh
remember. I
god.
have photos of it, but I don't like remember everything from that.
Yeah, I think it was like a beef tenderloin. I think it was like a cheesecake in there, and there were so many different like Asian hors d'oeuvres that were being served. Like Sam and I just mowed down on them like crazy. And we know that Sam is a big foodie himself, and we were just going off on it like every single time. Like plates would be cleared in within like 5-10 seconds of
Yeah,
hors d'oeuvres when they came out.
yeah, I can't wait to go out and do those kind of events again. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah, really. I mean, I enjoyed being at Bo's wedding. It was a fantastic wedding for one thing, and then the food was amazing, and then it was just kind of cool, hanging out with a bunch of like Yu-Gi-Oh friends outside of the actual game itself because you don't get that a whole lot with a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh friends that you make. Like you just see them at the events, and it's like, hey, cool, like awesome, but you don't really see them outside of events. So that was really a kind of fun time to kind of see all you guys like outside of the game.
yeah, sure, true. Yeah, I don't. I guess I don't really do too much outside of Yu-Gi-Oh. So I mean, like, I guess I have a couple of hobbies. I play some video games, I guess, but no.
Like, would you call yourself like an introvert? Like, you like to be like inside, like kind of like away from people? Like,
Nowadays, yeah, but like I do often try to like call my friends to like hang out. We'll go out to like a video game store, just like browse or like the mall, or sometimes I try to get people to go grocery shopping with me. But yeah, I guess everyone nowadays wants to like stay inside.
I mean, it's understandable considering what's going on. But there's a lot of people who are just getting a little bit tired of getting cooped up in their home. Like they want to get out there, So it can definitely take a toll with this whole pandemic thing going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but again, like we got to try to do our best to get through this and all, because I know that I've been aching for some like in real life dueling, because I haven't played a single remote duel yet once. And like I've had like a friend or two over at my place, and like we've played a little bit here, but because I prefer like playing in real life with an actual person. But holy heck, man, this is like the biggest drought of Yu-Gi-Oh that I've ever had because of all this.
Yeah, but I do see that you started recently trying to host remote duels, right? And I might try and get into it, like in your server, but I have to be.
Yeah, yeah, because I know that you like hopped onto like my card shop server and whatnot, because we're gonna start doing remote duels soon, because Yu-Gi-Oh Day is coming up, December 5th, December 6th, that weekend. Playmat looks awesome, by the way. I can't. I'm not gonna be able to win it though, because I'm gonna be working that event, so I can't win it, unfortunately.
But you can play at another event probably.
If I can somehow run into another one on the 6th, so I might have to like build a deck very quickly, maybe learn like virtual worlds from like now until I got 2 weeks to learn virtual worlds basically.
Yeah, the decks, I learned a lot actually after writing that article. Like my article was, it could be just like some people would think it's a joke now that like all these other lists came out and how to play it. Like, dang, Psychic Path was kind of hype, but like I think that card would be a lot better in a slower game because it's just a better top deck option. But like, what's it called? Just the deck the way it is now, with just hand traps and every single card. It just and like not only that, but it's the combos that people have been creating. Like I didn't realize that you're supposed to lower the level of the Shen to 6. So that way you can synchro with it to make Cloud Castle and revive it to make calamities that way. I was like, oh, that's really good, because then you don't have to you don't just have to make another level 9 with you don't have to make another level 9 without using Shen. You would commit less resources to make the calamities actually.
Well, let's get more into this deck. Let's start this from the ground up, because like I'm someone who hasn't actually examined what the heck Virtual World does, and for someone who wants to really learn the deck really quickly, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. Let's start from the ground up here, because it won the Luxury Championship Series, and you wrote an article about this not too long ago, like early this month. So let's start from the ground up here. Like let's
sure.
Describe the deck to me.
The deck's like super unique, because like every single monster except for the one like has an effect of special summon from the hand while you control another one on the field, like a spell or a trap or a monster on the field. And it's every single effect is like Foolish Burial, the other card type, and then summon it and do something else. So like Lulu, the best one, adds you a card from deck to the hand. Gigi is the non-tuner, and it it gives you a Scarm at the end of the turn. You add back one that's not GG at the end of the turn. And there's like the other two level 6s, Lao Lao and Lin Lin. Lin Lin is another Foolish Burial. It's a level 6, and it's like pretty. It's a common for a reason because it just Foolish is another, but it's pretty good at the start of the game. And then Lao Lao is like your is level 6 tuner that revives another one. So it's tricky to use the Lao Lao because you have to like set it up so that you already had another monster in the grave to revive, because you can't revive the same monster that you send off Lao Lao. But Lao Lao itself can be like an extra, like a toolbox card. You just like summon it, get another 6 and make a rank 6, or get a level 3 to make a level 9 synchro. It's one of the more powerful standalone cards in the deck. But as I'm playing the deck more, it's actually very resource based, and you have to like really know how to make sure you search the right cards to not only make a board but also create a follow-up, which I really like in this game is that kind of feeling where you're making a play and creating a follow-up. Like from the times I played Satellar Knight to Spirals to even like Zodiacs, and recently I'm playing a lot more Dinosaurs. I like those kind of decks where you're making a play and you're making a follow-up, so that way you're able to out-resource your opponent and outplay your opponent, because that's what the cards were designed to do. But anyways, these there is so much hype going on with these virtual world cards that Lulu's gone up a lot, and like it's crazy because like it's true. The monsters are really good because they don't lose to any real specific hand trap besides like the generic ones like Gamma and Ash, Blossom, and Nibiru. But like they don't lose to Droll, they don't lose to Ogre, they don't lose to Veiler, they don't lose to Impermanence, but their boss monsters do. And they have a searchable trap that's like every turn pop a card by recycling 2 banish virtual worlds, which is insane because like it's think of it like a Dryden every single turn that they have to have a spell trap removal for, right? So that's a super important card that you want to get rid of if they have it up, because if they let that card up for multiple turns, it's going to have multiple values every single turn. The spell card is probably like the searching spell is really good because it sets up the trap. But the King Long, the continuous one,
the Kowloon, the King Long, Zinglong.
Yeah, the King Long is like a very weird one because like it's good when your opponent's established a board, but it's not that good to draw it because you just have to figure out a way to discard it. Like, and there's not a built-in way for the deck to discard the card. You just have to play it, and I mean, playing it is good because then you don't have to commit your normal summon. But like it's a weird card because once you have it up, you're like, I wish this was not on the field. I wish it was in the grave. But it did help me beat like I forced out a Shadal Winda, and then like I just played a spell and negated it and played the game. So that was kind of cool. But no. There's a lot of weaknesses to the virtual world deck, and like if you guys want to know, you just gotta like just stop them from summoning, which means that you just have to not let them have a single field presence. Think of them like so when you open up a hand of virtual world cards, you want to activate a spell or normal summon, or play your one of emergency teleport or something, and that way you can get one field presence on the field, and then you play the rest of your hand. But as long as you get rid of that first step that they take, then they don't have a second step to take. they just stop and they pass turn.
Is that kind of a reason why we see a lot of like Ciphering Gear Gamma in the deck? Because not only does it help with emergency teleport, which is run in the deck, but it's a really good card in the mirror match to kind of shut down that first card.
I would probably say it's just really generic and good against like other combo based decks, because combo is still relevant, and like even though it's post Phantom Rage, they still were the best decks before, so they are still the best decks now. So that's why you still have to keep those cards against those matchups. But in the mirror match, you like the most important card to gain more resources is Lulu. So because it gets you another card, gets you the trap, or it gets you GG or Lao Lao. And if you can, I think one of the main resources that you want to loop in the deck is to use Lulu to search like GG and then summon GG, so that way at the end of the turn you get back Lao Lao, or not Lao, you get back the Lulu, so that way next turn you do the same thing. Yeah, and that's like crazy actually, but no, the Gamma isn't really in there to help with the deck. It's just in there because it's just generically good, which is like there's no real hand trap to stop them from normal summoning. Because even if you you can Gamma the hand effect or Ash it, but like if they have a second card or a third card to play, you can't stop them all with your hand traps. There's nothing like that. I mean, if the deck goes second and you flip like freaking mind drain on them, then yeah, you stop them from playing cards in their hand. Or like if you, I don't know, there's like a lot of floodgates that stop the deck. And once you adapt it to that point, like those kind of cards, and like Virtual Worlds, you'll realize that Virtual Worlds isn't like broken. It's just really good because everyone else's utility cards is just not good against them.
Yeah, it's so strange though, because I'm seeing in a lot of deck lists, and the deck list that you presented in that article is that there isn't a single link monster that we're seeing at all. Like I would think like you could run like needle fiber in it, but nobody, at least in the LCS, is running any links. So, is there anything that you could tell me about that?
It's because every single monster locks you into only summoning level 3 or higher, have to resolve their effects. So you wouldn't think that you actually need to play link monsters, but there has been talk amongst like the top dueling book players that I keep hearing is that they would play the needle fiber package. So like they would just play 3 Deep Sea Divas, summon Deep Sea Diva to get another one, and then like make Halka Fibrax so that way you can get out one of your virtual world tuners. So that way, not only do you have a virtual world tuner to like play the rest of your hand, but also a needle fiber. So what you can do with the needle fiber on your opponent's turn is that you can use it to summon Formula Synchron and draw a card. Then if you have a level 6 still up, then you can make an Omega after that.
Is that a strategy that you would consider running if you were to run Virtual Worlds?
It's very niche. Because this, like, in order for all of that to work, would be any virtual world would to go with the tuner. So it relies on you drawing the non-tuners to make the Deep Sea Diva package work. And not only that, but it does take up like 1, 2, and 3 spaces in your extra deck. So not a lot of players are prioritizing that. They are leaning more towards like Beast of the Pharaoh, maybe, or even like just not playing any of those because deck was already fine without them. Like the whole point of playing tech cards is to solve problems of the deck, and the problem of the deck is that besides the normal summon and activating the spells, you don't have a way to establish your footing in the game, and that's something hard to deal with. What's it called? There was something else I wanted to talk about, but I forgot already. The deck's like other like biggest punch is that it makes calamities, right? Because like you have the level 9 synchro that revives itself every turn, and like all your cards are 3s or 6s, and you have the trap that you can dump to instantly raise your level. So it's super super easy to make level 9s. But the other biggest punch of the deck, like the biggest reward of the deck, is like the level 12 Math Mech Synchro. That card is 3,000 attack and it's a towers. And I just did this combo just like a couple hours ago where I resolved Nibiru against like a Zodiac player. I put the token in attack mode, and then I summoned out the Geo Math Mech, and then I just like 6,000 damage. I was like, this is real. This is super real. But anyways, because I know like all these like little like things existed, actually, this is more reason why dinosaurs should actually play kaijus post Phantom Rage, because post Phantom Rage, Zodiacs with Tri Brigade cards, by the way, or even like Prank Kids and Virtual Worlds, they end on these kind of boards where it's like, oh, I make Megaclops, I make Trident, or I make Zeus, or I make I can summon a Battle Butler, but only or totally awesome. And like what's it called? Virtual is just like, oh, I'm playing Calamities, and then I'm gonna if they play Calamities, if they're like a very cautious player, they would be like, I'll wait until you commit a card to the field because Gamma and Impermanence exist. Because of that, it's more reason to play Kaijus because it puts them in another weird spot where it's like, oh, but if you have the Kaiju, I guess I'll activate it and then run into Gamma, which is more rewarding. But the thing is that like Kaijus are just. I mean, I do play the dog rank Kaiju because it's searchable, but the other Kaijus that I play are not searchable. You just have to draw them. And the Kaiju I'm actually trying to play more of is the wind one, the Godarla, because one of the locals that I played at and I lost one game to a Zodiac Tri-Brigade player because he played the gimmick where he played the wind barrier statue.
Yeah.
And you can either summon it with by doing a combo. And like all the Tri-Brigade monsters, you banish Beast Warriors in your graveyard to summon one of the Tri-types from your extra deck with a link rating equal to the amount you banish. So if they just banish 3 Beast Warriors in the graveyard, you can just summon a Simorgh and then end their turn and then summon out a statue. An untargetable statue because it's under Simorgh. So the only real answer to that is Godarla. You just have to summon it over it and established that you've beaten it. But the other stupid thing that they do is they have that new Tri-Brigade spell, the Airborne. It's a quick play spell, and it targets a Beast Warrior you control or one of the Tri-types. Sorry, like the Whenever I say Tri-types, I mean Beast Warrior, Beast, or Wing Beast. And they target a control, and you can summon one of the Tri-types from your deck with the opposite types that has less attack than it. So you just have to like summon Thoroughblade, make a Trident, and then go to end phase because then you avoid Nibiru, and then he plays the quick play spell to summon Barrier Statue.
No, I see.
And I was like, wow, why am I not like playing answers to this? This is super searchable.
Yeah, because now we're starting to see like Ash Blossom kind of start to come back into the mix now. Because lately in the form, like I would say, like maybe earlier this year, like we kind of seen like a kind of a dip in more hand traps, and like it's more like Dark Ruler or like Forbidden Droplets to kind of get around it. Like let them build the board and let's just break it with like the power spell cards. But now we're starting to see Ash Blossom kind of dip back into it, like in all these top decks that we're seeing now with running this virtual world.
Yes, and that's because with Phantom Rage, like I said, Zoo, Prank Kids, and Virtual Worlds, and even like Phantom Knights are starting to become more popular. And the deck's engines don't really require you to play like your whole entire hand to actually make a full board. They just require you to like summon 1 card or 2 cards. Like ZX, just summon any Zoo, you got a combo. Prank Kids, you summon 1 Prank Kid, you get a combo, right? So because they're trying to hand build up like a 4 utility card ratio to 1 engine card, and those are like perfect hands apparently. And because of these perfect hands that they're trying to make, those perfect hands beat combo, like the Dragon Link combo, Warrior combo. Those are dipping in popularity because there's these decks that are playing with 1 card combos with like 14 hand traps or 16 hand traps even to stop you. So like it's a weird aspect because like before Phantom Rage, there weren't that many decks that were playing that same kind of style where 1 card combos and like 4 hand traps. There wasn't. Even Dragon Link, even though they have 1 card combo, it's super easy to stop with like anything. But they have to have extenders to continue playing, so they can't build their hand to be like 1 card combos. They have to have like 2 to 3 extenders to actually win, and they do win if they draw all those extenders. So that's why they build it to like what 9 hand traps maybe. Like I don't know, it's just. I really like how the format's like adapting to this actually, because I was really annoyed of the Dragon Link deck. That deck is it just very easy to learn and very so it's not easy to learn when it comes to like the mid game and the simplified game states, but it's very there's a linear combo and people love linear combos and they just go after it. I've seen so many new players that are like, oh, I just got back into the game, I picked up Dragon Link, and then they play Dragon Link, but they don't actually know what to do when I just use one hand trap. I look at my hand, I'm like, I'm about to lose because I only open one hand trap. But then my opponent, like, oh no, I don't know what to do. And then they just lose, even though they had, like, they probably had a hand to actually play through it. They just didn't understand how to actually use the cards. It's just a little bit sad. So now that we're moving on to that, like moving on from that, it's actually like I've been having a lot more better games because they're very interactive.
Yeah, because it kind of falls the same premise or like the same faults rather than like Salomon grades. Like usually it's a very linear combo, and what you end on is pretty much is mostly the same thing. What you would end on, maybe
Yeah,
like determining, just determining if you want to put like a Balix on, if you want to link off your Jack Jaguar for another Balix or not. That's pretty much the only decision that people would make out of it. But other than that, you know, it's fairly linear in the sense. And like, what do you do like mid grind game and whatnot?
Yeah. Like there's no resources to deal with, but like you know what, Infernovals actually don't really have too many simplified game state options besides like Charles and Gearfried. Like and like if unless you like you still have those other extra toolboxes, like you could still probably make the Borolo Savage naturally.
Yeah.
But like Dragon Link actually has a pretty good mid game resource because they have like Chaos Space to recycle back their banished monsters that can't be normal summon or set, including extra deck monsters. So they could set up a way to use Levianeer to like banish them and then recycle them and remake them. And they have so much recyclability with their all their revival cards and their with the field spell boot sector launch. And not only that, but if their one card combo starts sometimes with the Star Leech Safer, which they should be playing 3 of because it's not only a starter card but it's also your resource card in the mid game, and it's just like super strong. That like the deck has so many more recursion tools than the warrior combo deck. It's just that people like to play the warrior combo because you get to look at your opponent's hand with like 5 of your cards or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's usually just a game-winning effect.
So, what would you like typically see on an end board for Virtual World then?
Let's just. I'm still practicing the deck myself, but like from what I can tell, you're supposed to end on Calamities, maybe a second Calamities, because that way, if your opponent can't deal with 1, your opponent can't deal with 2. There's no real downside to it. Or there's a combo that somebody showcased where you actually use Gotems and you take away 2 cards of Gotems and you make a Calamities, because you you would make 1 Gotems, sacrifice it to take a card, then you just make Cloud Castles, buy back the same Gotems and take another card, and you make a third Cloud Castle, or sorry, not third, a second Cloud Castle to bring back Gotems a third time, and you take oh wait, that's 3 cards that they ripped, right? And then a Calamity.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but that combo is a gimmick apparently, and it's not viable because you were super hard loose in Nibiru or Gamma even, I guess. But no, like the ending board is just Calamities and the trap. The trap is the super important part because like that way you can kind of dodge your own impermanence, and then they follow it up on next turn with the level 9 Shen Shen to revive it and just like beat you down. Yeah, it's just another like shock and lock. I don't know, because like those lockdown kind of decks with like Calamities or like S0, like they don't win you the game. They just like stop your opponent from playing, and then you have to like build a follow up. That's the hard part.
What are your thoughts on the deck overall as a whole after like just kind of seeing the results of the LCS that just happened?
At the moment, it looks like it's pretty hard to pilot. But once I get used to it, I'll realize how easy it is to pilot.
Yeah, because it looks like majority of the cards are fairly easy to get for the most part, because a lot of them are just kind of the commons or super rares, which and like I guess like there's like 1 secret rare here and there, so it doesn't look like it's too difficult to get so long as you invest in this new set.
Yeah, and because of that, the demand is so high for the ultra rare that it shot up to like $30 even nowadays.
Oh really? Wow.
Yeah, I should have picked them up when they were 10. But no. Just buy a box or something. You'll probably pull it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go to my shop now and make sure we have some spare copies or something, or get some demand for it, because this thing is kind of shop. So I'm interested in it definitely, because if it's an easy deck to build, then I'm probably gonna go for it too.
Yeah. like everything else is just like commons and stuff, and those commons are worth like pennies or $1 even. Just whatever. Support your local card shop by spending $1 on super rares.
I mean, I do definitely. Even though I work at one as on top of my journalism, I definitely do that.
Like the reason why you would spend $1 on a super rare is because a store opens up the pack to get the card, and then they would have to lose. They technically spent money on opening of the pack themselves, or whatever the store cost is. So it just supports their business to do that. Or when they bought the card in from somebody, they cost them like what 50 cents maybe. So like they have to make a return on it.
Yeah, exactly that. Like card shops like can generally take a hit for when they open up boxes and whatnot, because over like probably like 80-90% of the cards are probably not going to make a return on it, so they got to make a return on it like somewhere, some way, somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like for example, like my store opens up 8 boxes for every single core set that comes out. So, and like I look at it and like, yep, we're probably negging on this, but you know, it's just for it's a convenience thing for a lot of the customers as well to have that kind of thing available.
Yeah, and there's so much competition nowadays with like the online market actually, ever since this whole COVID thing started, because like everyone, even though like people don't really play the game with the cards except for remote duels, like ever since the remote duel thing, they actually picked it up even more. But like people have been buying vintage cards, and it's just insane to me because like why? I mean, I guess I get it because it's Yu-Gi-Oh and it's a nostalgic game, but like, and then Pokemon is even more understandable because it's so much more popular. But like, dang, people are really buying random ultimate rares or random secret rares from an age-old set just because they have the money to, because they don't have anything else to spend it on, right? They're not paying for a trip. They're not paying for. I mean, they are paying their bills, but like they're not paying for events to go to.
Yeah, it's just really crazy how this world's kind of changed the complexity of Yu-Gi-Oh nowadays. That you know, we can't play like IRL tournaments anymore. Now we have to resort to do these remote duels, which is a completely different experience, at least in my opinion. I haven't done any yet, so like I can't speak on first-hand experience. But I've typically always been like a real life person because I enjoy that. Like, I enjoy the psychology. I enjoy like really actually interacting with your opponent when I play the game, and remote duels. There's kind of as a missing factor to that.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of like trust issues as well when it comes to remote dueling, but like I'm kind of used to it, I guess, because back then when I was a kid, I also played like I tried to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I didn't know about Dueling Network at the time, and I probably stumbled into like Skype duels.
Yeah,
and I think I played Skype duels with a couple of people, and they were like really weird, but like it worked out. I don't even like everyone had like really like bad quality cameras back then because well, there was no such thing as HD, I think, back then.
Yeah, because I remember back when I first started, I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! About like the first couple of years, I actually dueled on MSN Messenger just because the game was a little bit more simple back then, so it was a lot easier to track graveyards and whatnot, and it wasn't explosive like 20-minute turns.
Messages actually.
Yeah, I played on Messenger way back when too. I would do those.
But you were typing in your actions instead of like using a webcam or anything.
Yes, exactly that. I mean, we could use webcams if we really wanted to, but at the time we would just type it out. We'd just do text duels. It was funny how that happened.
Yeah, those were the OG actually.
Yeah, those are the OG.
People that trust each other to not top deck pot agreed or whatever.
Yeah, really. And there's a funny little joke that happened a long time ago. Is that it never happened, but it was just a joke. It's like, yeah, I used to duel by mail. I'm excited for next week. I got to start my battle phase.
Oh, actually, there's a game that actually was all about by mail, but I don't remember what it is. It was like a political drama game that you like a political drama and role playing game that you would play by mail.
But really? No idea
about it.
Never heard about it. Never heard of that before. That's kind of funny, but just think of like the long wait time of being able to like finish a game like that.
Yeah. But I'm sure you'll like remote duels. It's actually very once you get it all organized, and now that we have like the technology to see everything, like it's very good. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, because like although like there are some complicated issues like with like everyone's webcam setup is different.
Yeah,
there they're putting it bird's eye view or like sideways even. Like I've seen someone put it on their like very left side, so all you can see his field, but you're on his left side or right side, and you're not in front of him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so like that's why when I'm remote dueling, I put my camera at the angle of where my opponent's head would be across the table, so they see not only my hand but my field and how it's supposed to be. Even though like the bird's eye view can actually see the cards more in detail, you can actually also like accidentally bleed your hand, and that ruins the enjoyment to me because I would try to make a play and I'm watching my opponent, but then like he bleeds out on a bureau or something, and I'll be like, that ruins it.
Yeah.
I have to, like, I'm trying to win, but like that sucks.
Yeah, that would be definitely painful. Sure, like there's definitely their own obstacles of having to do remote duels as compared to playing in real life. Like, for example, not being able to examine your opponent's cards in the graveyard or whatnot. You kind of have to like fan them out, and then you might have to use like your phone or your laptop to kind of like read what cards do and whatnot. So
yeah. I pull up the like an encyclopedia of the cards and type in them, and like it's pretty reliable, but like yeah, it does take a lot more time, and that's why like time extension went to like 50 minutes per round, and that's been like really helpful actually. There were some locals that are just starting out, and they did like 40 minutes a round, and they can see like why 50 minutes a round was more viable than 40. It's like I would go into time so much, and I'd be like, wait. You guys been doing 40 minutes around? That's crazy. You gotta read the practice guide.
Yeah, really. And like not to mention like we have to go through like a whole set of like new rules and new protocols to kind of go through to comply with the remote duels, because this is something that we've never really ever had to experience before in my life. Like I'm so used to playing in real life, and now all of a sudden it's been 9 months now that I've been able to actually get like a real like a official tournament duel in, because I haven't like touched remote duels yet, or I don't even play on Dueling Book for that matter. So I'm really starved for playing in real life again, but who knows when this is going to end. Man, I just want to play with people again, like in real life in actual tournaments. I just want to do that again.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, really. So overall, like, do you think like virtual world is going to be like one of the next moving forward that we're going to see like a whole bunch of?
Oh yeah, it's affordable, and the cards are very good in the metagame right now because of how nobody's using like specifically like for example, if everyone in the room was playing give me a second. If everyone in the room was playing Maxi, which obviously is banned, then virtual worlds would probably see less play. Or like if everyone in the room was playing what's it called? If everyone in the room was playing like desynchro or like oh my god, what's the specific answer that's so hard card specifically virtual world? Like, oh yeah, you know what? There's that common card that came out in the last OTS pack that like 1700 attack, and it says cards cannot be sent from the deck to the graveyard. I didn't realize why it was printed in that set.
Oh, Dimension Fortress Warrior.
Yeah, exactly. That card was printed in as a reprint, and I was like, why is this in this? And then now that we're seeing virtual worlds, I'm like, oh, it's hidden tech that they're trying to lead us to play.
Yeah.
They want us to play this card so that way it hard counters virtual worlds.
Yeah, it reminds me of Trifortress Drops that came out in the rare from Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy. That was the card specifically to counter Dragon Rulers. Because like if your opponent does like 3 special summons in one turn, you can special summon from your hand. It can't be targeted by it can't be targeted and destroyed. Yeah, Trifortress Drops. But like drops like 500 defense like every turn, something like that. Something along that lines.
So if everyone in the room was starting to play board clears and then summon Trifortress Stomp and like somehow answer the trap, I guess like virtual worlds would see less play. But no. Like it's definitely like the deck to play right now because it's like really consistent and it doesn't have that many checks right now. Like nobody's hard countering it.
Yeah, and I wonder now that we have the results of the newest LCS, what are people planning to do to kind of disrupt it right now? Because I've seen like other decks kind of not come to light per se, but other decks have been out there. Like Phantom Knights is getting a little bit of hype now that they have the Torn Scales out, and I know Jesse Cotton just released a new deck list revolving around that. It was something I was thinking about maybe building, and then all of a sudden Virtual World that comes out. It's like, man, like which deck do I go for? Do I just go for Virtual World? Do I try to go for the Phantom Knights? Like it's
or even like new decks or prank kids. Like, yeah, there is a lot of like new decks that are very viable because they play with the hand traps and they can play against the hand traps. It's just I think that once people are adapting, we'll probably see like Virtual Worlds take like maybe like 4 out of a 16 kind of top spot. Because like I said, like all you have to do is just know how to play the deck against the deck with your resources. Like I actually just recently played a competitive game at Carta Magica's like box tournament from Remote Duels, and I played against a Virtual World player. And even though I've played the deck a little bit myself, it was like my first time playing against it with the dinosaur. But I know like what are the checks that I needed to do. Yeah. So in the Lost World Dino versus the Virtual World matchup, there was actually I have to use my Pankratops to beat the trap. But when I went second, I had to also figure out a way to play against Calamities, and luckily my hand was like Impermanence and Gamma, so I just did that. And but luckily for him, he also had the Ash Blossom for my Gamma, which then created a very long game actually, because without the Calamities that he had first, he had to actually revive Shen Shen and make a second Calamities. But the problem with that was, he couldn't make a second Calamities because I negated the Lulu and I had Nibiru in my hand. But because I negated a Lulu with Gamma, then he couldn't run into my Nibiru. But anyways, there was a point where once I was able to establish the board, I couldn't beat the trap yet, and then he used the trap to beat my Conductor, or get a spell actually. So once he was able to make a second Calamities, I had to actually make Baguska with like but okay, so another thing is that I was playing against this Virtual World player. I don't think he was too experienced, because whenever he made Calamities and he would activate, he called Dark for some reason. And in the Dinosaur matchup, you would probably want to call Fire or Earth, because that I can't use Baby Ceratosaurus or Miscellaneousaurus in my graveyard, because the attribute effect only affects the monsters on the field. So because of that, I was able to make a rank 4 like Baguska, and was able to stall against that deck to a point where I draw Mystic Mine and I played it, and then was able to turn tables. But yeah, like I actually only just started recently putting Baguska back into my deck, because I know Virtual Worlds exist, Zoo exists, and maybe even Prank Kids is good against that. So like it was a pretty good call. But also, Lost World in the Virtual World matchup is just really strong, because you would give them a token with Lost World, and while they have a token, they can't target monsters on their side of the field with card effects. And that means that unless they open up the spell cards to put up a face of spell trap on the field, they can't normal summon and then target their monster with their virtual monsters effects. So that was a huge interaction that like really blew away the matchup for the following games that I played against them. So and when I say this, I hope like a lot of Virtual World players are listening, they just have to adapt through this step by just playing a Link Revo, or even side decking a Link Revo. Once I give you a token, all you do is just link it away for Link Revo, then normal summon, you can play the game. But then you also still have to like have the checks for like my UCT, right? If you normal summon, I'm going to flip that face down, or if you activate a spell, I will hopefully have Lagia to negate that, because it's one thing I need to get.
That's a typical opening that you would see in Dinos, that you would have like probably a rank 4 Exceed and Ultimate Conductor Tyranno out there. So you'd hope that that's what you would have against them, because that's the typical opening. Yeah, and like Miscellaneousaurus is really good, but it doesn't actually stop continuous effects. So that the King Long spell that you banish a Virtual World card from your graveyard to target a monster on the field to negate it. That effect would beat Miscellaneousaurus to negate Conductor Tyranno or whatever. That's a big interaction. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how like Virtual World will move forward with this. I about it with my friends. I was playing Virtual World online on like Dueling Book, and then my friends was like, "Yeah, you're playing the best deck," and I'm like, "No, this deck loses to dinosaurs because there's so many interactions." He tells me like, "No, it doesn't." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." Like I think that
like definitely post ban list because dinosaurs are probably going to get hit. And then yeah, virtual worlds will establish themselves as being like a better deck because of their card quality. The card quality is just really high because every single card gets you like either another card or like something more valuable.
Yeah.
So it's not the same as Engage, but like Lulu, it's crazy. Trap card, crazy. The level 3 that adds you back at the end phase, really good. Like they're just cards that you play and you get like super high value with it.
Yeah. I'm so curious to see how this is going to play out because again, like I've kind of been out of the loop for like the last like 7-8 months just because like I haven't been playing during the pandemic. I kind of watch games here and there, but I haven't really familiarized myself with being able to play the game again. I'm sure I kind of speak for a lot of people that have had the same effect during this COVID-19 pandemic. So now that we have this kind of cheaper deck. I'm not gonna say it's cheap per se, but it's definitely cheaper than most other decks. So you still have like the other extra. You have the extra deck you still have to worry about as well. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of nice to have like a very quick, easy deck to build nowadays. Now that Virtual World's kind of made its mark at this point.
Yeah, if Lulu was a secret rare, we would all be doomed. it would actually be the next Golden Lord or like the next Engage because it's secret rare.
Yeah,
I'm just glad they made Torn Scales a secret rare. So like, yeah, people like the aesthetics of it, but like, it's also just not. I mean, it is a really important card to make that deck better, but it's just the deck itself has a lot of flaws, so that's why it's just not as good.
Yeah. All right, man. I'm hoping at least like this gets me another competitive deck again because I don't think at this point in time my Thunder Dragons is going to really like cut it at this point in time. So I'm ready to move on to another deck, even though I didn't really bring this deck to a tournament at all. So now the Virtual World's out. I have majority of it already, so it's kind of nice that okay, I can just kind of throw this together out now. I just have to get a couple cards from my local card shop that I work at, and that's about it.
Yeah, Dueling Grounds in Peterborough, right?
Yeah, that's exactly where I work at. You know, I work 2 jobs: work the journalism and I work through the card shop. You know, it's nice. It's a nice balance of my life, and they don't interfere with each other, thankfully.
Definitely not. No.
All right, Hanko, man, is there any shout outs you want to give before we head out?
Yeah, shout outs to all my friends and family that support me. I think like especially nowadays, like, you know, can't really, I really appreciate people that support me and what's that word called? All right, I'm forgetting the word, but like, I don't know, I just really appreciate them and they know who they are.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, shout out to Jason, especially because he edits my articles. Without it, like my articles would look a little bit choppy and a lot harder to understand is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he definitely clarifies things a lot, makes it a little bit more simple when it comes to writing. So yeah, definitely props to Jason because he's done that to me years ago.
When I moved in with Sam a couple of years ago and I lived with him, I learned a lot about content creating just by sitting back and like looking at him doing his work. So like, yeah. I actually like, even though like I say, like it's easy to do content creating. It's only easy if you have a passion for it, and like you really like it. So like, yeah, I learned a lot from him, and that's I guess Steven also learned a lot from Sam too, because then that's why he's also that successful now.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, like I guess just whoever supports me, I guess I'll just thank them.
Man, there's really a tree coming out of like Sam.
Oh yeah, thank you, Bowie, for having me actually on this.
Of course, absolutely, my friend. I'm glad you're able to make it on. You know, I had a bit of a lull last week. I couldn't get anybody on. I'm like, man, why didn't I get Hanko for this? I'm like, he's definitely up there. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't think of you now. I'm like, man, that's why I had to ask you for this week. Again, man, thanks a lot for coming on, man.
I didn't actually expect this because like I don't think of myself as that good. As like all those other names.
Well, I mean, but there's also like, it's not just about that either. It's also about what else do you bring to the table, you know? Because like you have, you're starting to garner some like following now with writing for TCGPlayer on top of that, and then like me knowing you personally as well. Like I've always respected the way you've like approach deck building, especially with the creativity and like the wacky combos that like what you've been able to top with. And again, I've played you like in real life as well, so like I know that even handling a little bit not quite as a creative deck, that I still know that you can really pack it to punch.
Yeah, I know how to pilot is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know how to play the game, and it's not just catching people off guard. Like if we had to go like mirror match, like top to bottom, like you could still put out a good game.
Yeah.
That's exactly no problem, man. So that is Hanko Chow, multiple YCS topper, featured writer for TCGPlayer Infinite, and one of the best deck builders, one of the most creative and best deck builders, and one in my opinion, he's very creative indeed. Hanko, man, thank you so much for being on my podcast.
No problem.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. For more information, check out the Gate Expectations podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Patreon, Twitter, and Spotify.